Oh my gosh. Ugh. Sigh. This is alright, I'm just sitting in Petone in New Zealand, and this is part of Wellington City. Anyway, just did my shopping at Pack and Save. Look, this is a message more for Australians and New Zealanders. We're going to have to fight China soon. You do realise that, right, guys? Like, prophetic dreams aside, it should be obvious what's coming. For those of you who aren't aware, the Chinese Navy just did a freaking live firing exercise with, I think, 2 destroyers and a cruiser in the Tasman Sea. We weren't notified. The New Zealand government, the Australian government, no one was notified. They just sent out a radio message to nearby commercial aircraft, like about 5 or 10 minutes before they opened fire. See how our government here in New Zealand responded? I have to laugh, otherwise I'd cry and get angry, okay? Which is a bit down vibe. Trying to live some spiritual principles here and lead by example to some extent. So it's kind of, howling into the void, and I'm getting grumpy in this video is not going to help. So I'm going to choose the laughter route. But oh my gosh, it's a little bit depressing, bro. Come on. Our Prime Minister, we're sold out. It's a uni party down here. There's Labour and National. It's the same group, the same people behind the scenes. So it's globalists. Yeah, we're sold out. And I think Christopher Luxon, our Prime Minister, said, "Oh, well, it would have been nice to have a bit more warning." And I think our media basically said today in the new mainstream papers, "Oh, we can expect more of this. Like, it's no big deal." It is a big deal, okay? And unfortunately, New Zealand's, I've talked about the spiritual corruption here and how it's pretty dark. We're sold out to China here. We did that years ago. We completely sold out, literally. Like, we made all these trade deals. So we don't want to upset China, even though they're now threatening to invade us, because we're sold out. Australia has pushed back more and against Chinese aggression, as have the US, but New Zealand has shown really weak leadership, and that's a reflection of the spiritual degradation of the society. And to clarify, I have talked about this previous videos. New Zealanders are actually naturally good people. The soul of the nation. We're naturally good and kind people, naturally, but not in the current state. Like, overall, the overall spiritual state of the country is strongly negative at the current time. But that's not who we are. We're just sick. Whereas some countries I've been shown, can't name names because it's way too politically incorrect, and there's a lot of stuff I get shown in dreams I can't talk about here on the channel. There are certain countries that are just kind of, the group soul of the country is negative spiritually by default. That's their kind of base, that's just their normal state. That's kind of who they are. Like I say, I won't name names, but New Zealand isn't one, the United States isn't one. I will say those two for sure. I've been shown we're naturally positive, we're just sick at the moment. And we'll go back to being more spiritually positive in the future. But yeah, that spiritual sickness, unfortunately, is going to affect our defense readiness and, the integrity of our state and our ability to respond. I mean, Australia's got more spine and backbone there. But, what's coming next, basically, at some point, all trade will be cut with China. And then they're going to come down here to invade, and we're going to have to fight them, and we're going to lose. Because we're not. And we'll win the war. We'll win the war in the end. We do win in the end. So it's not like the loss is a permanent one. Yeah, we get basically bombed, invaded, nuked, conquered, and then we'll be under occupation for 6 to 7 years, from around roughly 2030 to 2037. This is the picture the dreams have been giving, and then we get freed by the Americans. I actually had a really powerful vision of that. Like the point in the war when the US, I was shown huge squadrons of US jets flying in really low, just above the surface of the ocean, coming in from the east, as the sun was rising, which represented hope, but also they were coming in, I think, to get under the radar. But there was just this freaking, it was just vast numbers of American warplanes surging across the Pacific, and just, yeah, and that was the beginning of the sort of the reconquest of New Zealand. From the invading forces by our American friends, which I've been shown happens around sort of late 30s. And then, yeah, in the end, New Zealand troops, Australian troops will be fighting in China as the Allies go back, and, basically for payback and invade China at the end of the war. And China loses at the end of the war and we break them up. But that's the overall picture. So the good news is we do win in the end. That's what everyone's been shown, but we lose first. And that's, I don't know, there's no easy way to say it. We're going to have to fight China soon, and then, we're going to lose. So, I mean, I'm here to freaking warn you guys in advance. And this is not just what I've been shown. This is the aggregate dream picture that I've put together from looking at videos and all the public playlists. It's what everyone's been shown. And it's the consensus picture that I'm talking about that I've put together, not just from my dreams, but from everyone else's dreams. And they all corroborate each other and match up. So yeah, if you're in New Zealand and Australia, we just encourage you. This is a signal. This is one of the early warning signs. Dr. Anne Brady at the University of Canterbury, she's smart and wise and like she's sharp as a knife and intelligent and wise, and she's known just how much of a threat China is for a long time. She's a really good New Zealand intellectual. And CCP, Chinese Communist Party spies, have actually raided her offices here in New Zealand, and she's saying my friend sent me an article and she said some good stuff about it. She said she thinks we'll look back in the future on our history and we'll see this as a moment when everything changed. And I should also add that China has now just made a deal with the Cook Islands, which is it's like a governing, I forget what the nature of the political, they're like a free governing territory, like a self-governing territory and free association of New Zealand. I think that's the technical term. But they basically just, China, I think, basically went and said to their leader, who's freaking corrupt apparently, I think they just gave him $20 or $40 million and said, hey, are you going to if you take this money, if you let us build military ports and things like this, ports that can be used for military ships on your country, we'll give you $20 or $40 million. And he's like, yep, I'll take the money, I'll sell out my own people, and they'll come and murder my people and murder New Zealanders, but I don't care, because all I care about is money, because that's what happens when you've got a nation that's really spiritually corrupt. It's easy to invade and infiltrate because lots of people have no morals and will literally sell out their own countrymen, with the consequence that, women, men and children will die in vast numbers just so they can make a little money. It's pretty horrific. So that guy he's the lowest of the low, really. So nothing worse than a traitor. Traitors are worse than enemies, yeah. So it looks like New Zealand's going to have to cut off the Cook Islands because they've, I got shown, I'll put the link in the description box below, a long time back in dreams, that the Solomon Islands are going to be used as, landing, 4 logistical hubs and landing stages kind of for the, they're going to bring troops and material and supplies down to certain islands close to New Zealand and Australia as they prepare to actually invade us. So it looks like they're planning to do that for the Cook Islands too. So that's just another sign of what's coming. So if you're in New Zealand and Australia, obviously please refer to the disclaimer in the description box below if you've not already done so. This is not financial advice, yada yada yada, the whole standard disclaimer. You are responsible for your actions, you are responsible for your own life. I will say I'm not giving out any advice here that I'm not living by, and completely living by all the advice I'm putting out here, including the stuff about what to invest in terms of physical gold and, well, I'd like to invest in physical gold and silver in the future, and then I'm planning to leave New Zealand to emigrate. So these are early warning signs, and then I would just advise New Zealanders and Australians, really seriously think about it. Do you want to stay and fight, because you'll most likely die, or do you want to emigrate? Do you just want to skip it? Do you want to go to one of these safe zone countries? And it's not cowardice, because you can do both. You can leave these countries and be safe, and then actually get involved in the war later on. Remember that there's that old piece of wisdom: he who fights and runs away will live to fight another day. So there's a difference between running, retreat and being a coward and just running away, and in an intelligent tactical withdrawal. So I would put to many, for example, men Australian men and New Zealand men who want to fight to defend their countries, if you know in advance that we're going to get crushed and we're going to lose in the first third of the war, and that then we'll be under occupation for 7 years, why not go to one of these countries, and there'll be active resistance groups from immigrants, with an E, from our countries in Argentina, in Uruguay, in Chile, in Ecuador, in South Africa, among the many millions of Westerners who emigrate to those countries. You can help, train. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can help, invent new technologies, help with logistics, help with training, and then you can come back and fight when we'll actually be winning. You can come back and fight if you want. You can be a soldier on the front line in the later stages of the war. But if some people's path will be to just stay and fight, and that's noble and honourable. Spoonerism. Noble and honourable, and we do need those people. But others, it isn't. And then just consider, I know guys you used to be friends with, but they're kind of toxic and arrogant, as so many Kiwis are, unfortunately. So I had to kind of cut them off. But they're not all bad, but when tested, their characters aren't great. But these guys are in the New Zealand military. That would be an advisable course of action to them. And not just for them, but for their country, in many ways. Just something to think about, all right? You can, if you want to get involved in the war effort and helping us to win the war, you can take your family to safety in one of these countries, and you can still have an impact, and you can come back later when we're winning later on in the war. But we're destined, according to all the dreams, to lose, and so you're basically going to certain death if you'll fight in the early stages, and that's, for some people, yeah, it's noble and honourable, and we do need those people. Many people will choose to fight. I'm not denigrating that in any way, but yeah, do you want to fight? It's fight or flight. Do you want to stay and fight, in which case you'll die, or do you want to fly away to one of these safe zone countries, and then you can fight another day? So it's not a binary. It's not just one or the other. You can do a tactical withdrawal to one of these countries, and then you can if you want, you can have a big impact as a New Zealander or an Australian on our side, helping to win the war. Later on. It's just something to think about. But man, this is not good. And war is coming, and it's not just China that's going to come down here. It's also North Korea and Russia. Could be, and I'm sure potentially other countries too. But those three for sure are going to invade New Zealand and Australia in World War III. So, I mean, that's a wake-up call if ever there was one, man. I wish I was wrong about this. I wish I was delusional, but I know I'm not. Sadly. All right. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one. Take a look at those links in the description box below. Cheers.